This is Dust for Dust on Gaming with Episode 1, Match number 2, with Sultai Teaching Nexus, Sultai Teaching Reclamation, however you want to refer to the deck as. So this is a deck based off of the work of FTZZMTGs. It's his Sultai list. I'll be linking his lengthy deck tech down below from his own YouTube channel that he looks like he basically put together to explain the actions of this deck, what their card choices, what people are getting wrong about the deck, etc, etc, etc. But basically this is a Wilderness Reclamation deck, a Mystical Teachings deck, a Cryptic Command deck, and the shell is basically based around that. The theory behind the deck is you use Growth Spiral or just land drops to get an Wilderness Reclamation into play. Then beyond that, you start looping Mystical Teachings, Cryptic Commands, and then you eventually generate an absurd amount of mana, Blue Sun yourself, draw your entire deck other than Nexus of Fate and Blue Sun Zenith, and then eventually just loop Nexus of Fate and kill your opponent with Snapcasters or Creeping Tar Pits. You use Pulse of Marasto to get your threats back. Also buff your life total against some of the more aggressive decks. And that's one way to win. The other way of winning is get multiple Wilderness Reclamations in play, draw your Blue Sun Zenith, and deck your opponent. So, deck has a couple different ways to go about winning. You can even win through Infinite Life with the addition of Blue Sun Zenith. And then beyond that, you have a bunch of other instances to kind of build around that strategy. Opt and Growth Spiral help you find your cards you're looking for in the early stages. Remand buys you some time. Snapcaster Mage kind of tie it all together. A couple copies of Fatal Push for the smaller creatures. Devour Flesh for things like Death Shadow, Boggles, etc. Assassin's Trophy, his least favorite card in the deck, but a necessary evil, can tag lands. It can tag any problematic permanent like Planeswalkers or creatures. Abrupt Decay, uncounterable, can be very reasonable against things like Search for Azcanta, Liliana of the Veil, a whole bunch of other things that you want to kill, Thing in the Ice, etc. I've already talked about Pulse. Mystical Teachings is kind of the core of the deck here. You know, allows you to teachings for more teachings or teachings for whatever answer you particularly need. Nexus of Fate allows you to loop for a couple of turns, especially in combination with Wilderness Reclamation. Mystical Teachings, Logic Knot here is another counterspell, and that's pretty much the main deck. The sideboard offers a lot of utility. There's a 1 of Field of Ruin here, and then just your lands you need to cast all your spells, with heavy emphasis on blue. Ceremonious Rejection for anything colorless. This is obviously a very efficient counterspell against decks like Tron, the Worked Prison decks, etc. Dispel whenever you're trying to fight counter wars or anything with a bunch of instants in it. Nimble Obstructionist can be a stifle on a stick, can also be another threat in certain matchups. Surgical Extraction, this is your out against Tron, this is your out against Valakut. Comes in against any type of graveyard-based matchups. Fatal Push is coming against the fast creature decks. Decks like Goblins, decks like Humans, decks like Spirits, decks like Burn. Echoing Truth, similar, also can hit multiple creatures, which is nice if they're the same name. Cryptic Incursion, pretty good against the life buffer against the aggressive decks. Good against Dredge, good against anything like Humans, etc. When you've kind of swept their board with Consume the Meek. Consume the Meek, once again, comes in the aggressive matchups, especially creatures 3 or less. Hero's Downfall, kind of a catch-all answer against Planeswalkers and creatures. Life Goes On, here to give you against a buffer against Burn. Can be quite insane when you're doing things like, Snapcasting, Fatal Push a creature, and then use Life Goes On to get 8 life. Shadow of Doubt, pretty good against any type of search effect heavy deck. Anything from Primeval Titan decks to Tron to any of those style of effects. And then Fracturing Gust is kind of your KO card against anything along the lines of Wordax, the Hardened Scales Affinity, etc, etc. Anything Bogles, this kind of buffers your life total, kind of wrecks their board. So a lot of very sweet cards in this list. Deck is very hard to explain without playing it, and so far we've played one match. It was a very weird match against Mono Green Belcher, so we're going to hop into a second match. Keeping in mind, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, giving us a thumbs up, leaving a constructive comment down below. But literally, you're seeing my first games with the deck. My first game was that against Mono Green Belcher. See how this matchup goes. So sometimes I like to play against, play with the deck before I go on camera. This particular list, I figured it'd be kind of sweet to just go through the early stages of learning the deck with you guys, so you guys can see my mistakes and such. But just want to thank everybody for helping us get to 500 subscribers. We hit that number earlier today as I'm recording this. Things are pretty sweet. Deck is a lot of fun, but definitely a lot of growth here in the last month or so. I'd like to keep up the momentum, see how it goes. Alright, come on, opponent. We'd like to play Magic sometime today. Give the opponent about another 30 seconds, and then I'm just going to kind of nope on out of here. Sorry, I have very little patience against opponents that have... Alright, well, we're just going to concede the match. They want to screw around, they can screw around, that's on them. I'm here to play Magic. I'm not here to watch an opponent take, 100 turns to do their thing. So I guess I'd like to play first. This hand's pretty reasonable if we find any type of action. Basically, we have opt, and question is, do I just grab? It's either, no, there is no overgrown tomb, so it's just gonna have to be breeding pool. So he explained why overgrown tomb basically. Oh, burn. Huh. I actually kind of actively. Oh, Vaxing Devil, huh? Should be an interesting test, or at least some type of aggressive deck. Gonna be conservative with my life total here. Grab a breeding pool tapped. Cryptic command, kind of nice. So we get to go Growth Spiral into opt most likely. And then hopefully between those 3 cards we'll see, yep, Swiss Spear. 1 lander, huh? Growth Spiral. Grab Water Grave here. I'm not going to get a chance to opt, but I think that's fine here. I'd rather get the fetch land into play. Wilderness Reclamation, perfect. Opponent's like, what is going on here? So with 1 land, my opponent's kind of been incentivized to play things on their main phase. Target spell. Just want to continue the. Alright, good drill land there. Why wouldn't you attack? Alright, so let's just presume we're basically. for a land drop. Just kind of continue to push through their deck here. Opponent is stuck on lands, which is kind of nice. Snapcaster. Go ahead and cast Opt here. Yeah, it's fine. Fine-ish. Looking for more and more. Alright, Cryptic Command is nice there. Growth Spiral. Definitely see why our opponent kept his hand. Don't want to get blown out by another gut shot here, so I'm just going to go ahead and counter draw. It's kind of nice that our opponent did that before we went ahead and tried to do the counterbalance trick. So, another land. Not terrible, but not really what we want here. Find the mystical teachings really for this game to really be broken open here. Wow, all 4 Swift Spears, huh? Alright, come on. Slow and steady, snappy beats. I mean, as soon as we find the mystical teachings, the game's really, really over. Kind of insane that our opponent still hasn't found another land yet. Yeah. Alright, Zena's pretty much going to lock this game up. so play a Nexus of Fate. Probably discard a bunch of lands here. Currently have 8. What's the last one we cut here? So Unsteady wins the race. Maybe I'm not supposed to pitch the land there. I'm not really sure. Tar Pit into play. Teachings for more teachings. Grab. Another teachings here. Teachings for Nexus of Fate. I mean, at least we beat burn game 1, but I think that's as much to do with their mana screw as anything else. Untap. Teachings. Grab Nexus. Okay, opponent concedes the game. Alright, so cards I like in the matchup. Dispels are pretty reasonable. Fatal Pushes are pretty reasonable. Life Goes On. That. Crypt Incursion, maybe. Like, the question becomes, like, what cards do I cut for all this? These two are pretty inefficient. Our Flesh, not the greatest. Spell Snare is reasonable against them. Like, this is the problem with a deck like this, is I'm not really sure what cards I'm 100% supposed to cut, and which ones are just kind of, maybe cut like a Cryptic here. Guess we can shave a Field of Ruin in this matchup. And then try it like that. So one problem with these engine decks is, like, I'm never sure what cards we're supposed to cut, which cards we're supposed to keep in. Especially on the draw, we're going to be really up against it. Actually, maybe it's like, do that, go down to Remand. FFZZ sees this, I hope he can give some advice on sideboarding, because that's one thing I think on his channel he was kind of lacking, is he didn't really explain his... I mean, he kind of explains his sideboarding, but he also doesn't. So, shall we begin? Alright. So some variant of Boros burn. Sand, obviously a little bit sketch, but I think we still keep it. So, Swift Spear is going to get in for some damage, unfortunately. So I don't think we're going to survive till turn 4 without interaction. Maybe it was incorrect to cut certain stuff here. Obviously, we got to game 1, we got to do our thing. Maybe I'm just not supposed to board out any of the Assassin's Trophies / Abrupt KFX. This feels like a post-combat Eidolon. Oh, alright. Castings. Oh, dear. Is there obviously a more aggressive version of Burn? Team or Battle Rage? Okay. So I'm getting hit for... Oof, that's a lot of damage. Pass turn? I mean, this is could pretty much be the game here if I don't find like a push or a... No, I'm not interested in another land here. Alright, so we're probably dead. Alright. Apparently I'm just not supposed to board out the... Probably supposed to board out more man's... If you have a burn spell, you have a burn spell. It's whatever here. Don't imagine you have a handful of blanks, right? anticlimactic. So remands are kind of garbage in the matchup, so maybe I'm just supposed to go ham on the disruption spells here. Have like every kill spell I can get in the deck, because I know they're probably running at least 12, probably 16 creatures. Alright, so I guess I'd like to play first. I have Devour Flesh and a Pulse of Marasa, sign me up. So they say. Definitely a keep. Alright, Creeping Tar Pit, go. It's not a bluff. I did once have a turn 2 kill with a double Monastery Swift Spear, like 3 mutagenic growth, bolt, something or other. Yeah, I can't remember the exact. It was a very insane hand. I still wish I had the footage. Just from my old YouTube channel. So leave Fatal Push and Opt up here. If they bolt me, it's whatever. I don't really care about bolt per se. Alright, so some style of slightly budgetized. Give them every opportunity to deploy extra spells. So just do this, get that off the board. Basic Forest. Pulse of Marasa, back my Burnt Catacombs. Alright, now my opponent's kind of up the creek. We're starting to develop some momentum here in the game. We have another removal spell. We have a cryptic command. So if we get out of this turn cycle without them doing too terribly much, we should be pretty good. Kiln Fiend. Alright. So they're more of a like Boros. I think I can afford to take the extra damage here. Pulse of Marasa is just such a disgusting card. Teamer Battle Rage. Alright, Metamorphose, sure. Kinda let them spin their tires here. Definitely weren't supposed to board out the removal spells in game 2. So it's just like board out the remands, board in the removal spells. Three mana. Cast an Opt here. I think... Sure. Devour your flesh, friend. Ha 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 ha. Can let them do their thing here. And then... So one card in hand. I don't really think we can afford to attack with Tar Pit here. Because one lightning bolt and we kind of get punished very very badly. Let's go ahead and get my mana's worth here. Another creeping Tar Pit, sure. Went with one card in hand. Start getting this game over with a little bit. Maybe I should just play the other Tar Pit. I do want to protect this from like a bolt or a helix. Spell is such a disgusting card. The land's untapped, pass to you. Gain 9 life, seems kind of disgusting. Don't even care. Crypt Incursion. Zenith, not terrible here. And that should pretty well lock up the game. Blue Sun Zenith for the win! Pretty soon we'll be able to start attacking with double Tar Pit. else going on, so just gotta keep making land drops, start beating them down. Looks like something that's gonna run into a spell snare. This deck is so silly once it starts getting into its thing. Another Zenith, huh? So black. Fire this up. Alright, so our opponent has a bolt or something here, it's whatever. They're just kind of delaying the inevitable. Untap some lands. Do you have any responses, friend? Okay, so this game is officially over. Flooded Grove. Let's fire up one Tarpet this turn, since we'll have the 2 to end the game next turn. I've Cryptic Command, several Dispels, and a Logic Knot here. So the game is definitely over. Tap some lands here. Not really worried about Zenithing. It's kind of win more at this point. We have 1 billion counterspells. Okay, fire this up. We have what? Double Dispel back up here. And opponent with the bolt got shot. Alright, so up against Boros, like Teamer Battle Rage Burn. Kind of an interesting concept. Yeah, we got to see what happens when we take on a kind of faster creature combo deck. Definitely want to be bringing in the removal, removing the Remands. Kind of looks like the boarding plan. Like I said, I'm far from an expert with this deck, but it's definitely a deck I'm enjoying, and we're going to be playing more. So this has been Dust for Dusted on Gaming with Episode 1, Match number 2 with Sultai Wilderness Reclamation Teachings.